In this video, you're going to understand a simple but powerful truth. Every financial decision you make today is building your future. The money you save, the money you spend, the debt you accept, the investment you postpone, the purchase you make on impulse, all of this can seem small in the moment. But over time, these small decisions begin to shape your financial reality. A lot of people don't realize this. The person works, receives their salary, pays the bills, buys some things, helps someone, deals with an emergency, makes one payment here, another there, and when the end of the month comes, they look at their account and think, where did my money go? And then they promise that next month will be different. But next month arrives and the same cycle repeats. That's why today we're going to talk about 8 common money mistakes that can prevent you from building a more stable, calm, and prosperous life. These aren't difficult mistakes to understand. In fact, many of them seem simple. The problem is that when repeated for months and years, they can delay your dreams, increase your debts, and take away your peace. The first mistake is not saving money. Many people treat saving as something that should only happen when there's money left over. They think like this: if something is left at the end of the month, I'll save it. But the problem is that most of the time nothing is left. The money enters the account already full of destinations. One part goes to household bills, another part goes to food, another goes to transportation. Then a small purchase appears, an unexpected need, an invitation, a promotion, an expense that seemed cheap. And when the person realizes it, the month is over. Then they say, next month I'll start saving. Except the following month arrives with new bills, new desires, and new unforeseen events. And so the person spends years waiting for money to be left over to start saving, without realizing that saving can't be the last step. It needs to be a priority. Saving money is like building a protective wall around your financial life. While everything is going well, many people think they don't need that wall. But life doesn't warn you when a problem is going to appear. A health problem can arise. A car can break down. An important appliance can stop working. A job can be lost. A family emergency can happen. And when the person has no reserve at all, any unforeseen event becomes a crisis. The problem stops being just the unexpected event. The problem also becomes the lack of money to deal with it. Imagine a family that lives exactly at the limit. Every month money comes in, and every month it all goes out. As long as nothing wrong happens, it seems like everything is under control. But it only takes one expense outside the plan for everything to fall apart. An unexpected bill appears, and the person needs to borrow money. Then come the interest charges, then come the installments, then next month's salary already arrives compromised. Then another need arises, and the person takes on another debt. Little by little, they enter a cycle that's hard to break. And all of this could be lighter if there were a reserve, even a small one. Saving doesn't mean putting aside a lot of money at once. It means creating the habit of setting aside a part regularly. You can start with little. What matters is starting. If you can't save a large amount, save a small amount. If you can't save 20%, start with 10%. If 10% is still difficult, start with 5%. If 5% seems like too little, start with what's possible. The secret isn't the size of the first amount. The secret is creating discipline. Because a person who learns to save little can, over time, learn to save more. But a person who never starts keeps depending on luck to face unforeseen events. Think of savings as a seed. At first it seems small, it barely impresses, but if you plant that seed in the ground, take care of it, and repeat the process, it starts to grow. After a while, what seemed like little begins to turn into security. That's what a financial reserve does. It doesn't just serve to accumulate money. It serves to give peace of mind. It serves to prevent any emergency from becoming a debt. It serves to keep you from having to accept any bad offer out of desperation. It serves to protect your family. It serves to give you more freedom when making decisions. Whoever doesn't save lives in fear of the next unforeseen event. Whoever starts saving creates a foundation, and that foundation changes how you feel. When you know you have some money saved, your mind becomes calmer. You don't panic over every problem. You think better, decide better, negotiate better, live with less pressure. That's why the first mistake you need to avoid is this. Stop living with no financial protection at all. Don't wait for leftovers. Set aside first. As soon as you receive it, choose a part, even a small one, and save it before the money disappears into everyday expenses. Give that money a mission. It's not for impulse purchases. It's not for passing desires. It's not to show anything to anyone. That money is to protect your future, and maybe at first it will seem difficult. Maybe you'll need to adjust some habits. Maybe you'll need to cut small expenses. Maybe you'll need to look more closely at where your money is going. But that effort is worth it, because every amount saved is a step out of financial fragility. Saving is the first sign that you've decided to stop living purely by improvisation. It's when you start telling yourself, I'm not going to leave my future completely unprotected anymore. So before thinking about big investments, big businesses, or big achievements, start with the basics. Build your reserve, because a strong financial life isn't born just from earning more. It's born from learning to protect what you already earn. And in the next mistake, we'll talk about another problem that keeps many people from growing: leaving money idle without learning to invest so it can work for your future. The second mistake is not investing. After learning the importance of saving comes a second mistake that keeps many people from growing financially: leaving money idle without learning to invest. Saving is fundamental because it creates protection, but saving alone isn't enough to build wealth in the long run. The financial reserve helps you face unforeseen events, but after creating that foundation, you need to understand that money also needs to work. Many people save some money and think that's enough. They leave it all sitting idle, without direction, without strategy, and without growth. The problem is that time passes, prices rise, the cost of living increases, and that money that seemed sufficient starts to lose strength. It's like storing water in a bucket with a hole. You look and think everything is there, but little by little a part leaks away without you noticing. When money sits idle without earning intelligently, it can lose purchasing power. What buys a lot of things today may buy less tomorrow. That's why anyone who wants to build a more stable financial life needs to learn to invest with prudence. Investing doesn't mean putting money into any promise you find on the internet. It doesn't mean chasing quick gains. It doesn't mean believing someone who promises to make you rich overnight. Real investing requires study, patience, and care. It's understanding where you're putting your money. It's knowing what the risks are. It's diversifying, that is, not putting everything in one place. It's thinking long-term. It's starting with awareness, even if it's with little. Many people don't invest because they're afraid. And that fear often comes from lack of knowledge. The person hears stories of someone who lost money, sees difficult news, listens to confusing opinions, and decides that investing isn't for them. But the problem isn't investing. The problem is investing without understanding. When you study, you start to notice that there are different paths. There are more conservative investments, which can help protect and grow money little by little. There are higher risk investments, which require more knowledge. There are income-generating assets, dividend-paying companies, funds, real estate, businesses, and various ways to put money to work. You don't need to master everything at the start. You need to take the first step in learning. Imagine a person who works for many years, earns their salary, pays the bills, and never invests. They might even save some money, but all growth depends only on their own effort. If they want to earn more, they need to work more. If they stop working, the income stops. Now imagine another person who, besides working, starts setting aside a part of their money to invest intelligently. At first, the amount is small, the return seems small, but they keep going. Every month they put in a little more, they study, they learn, they reinvest. Over time, the money starts to grow along with them. This person understands something important. Money needs to have a mission. One part protects you from unforeseen events. Another part should build the future. And this is where many go wrong. They use all their money only for the present. They pay bills, buy things, fulfill momentary desires, but don't put anything toward growth. After years of working, they realize they have many consumption memories, but little wealth built. Investing is planting today to harvest tomorrow. A seed doesn't become a tree on the same day. You plant, take care, wait, protect, and continue. It's the same with money. Whoever invests thinking only of quick results gets frustrated, but whoever understands the power of consistency starts to build something solid. That's why the second mistake you need to avoid is not investing. After creating your reserve, start studying investments. Understand the basics. Learn about risks. Look for reliable knowledge. Don't get into something just because someone said it's good. Don't put money into something you don't understand. Start small, but start with awareness. Because idle money might even seem safe, but well-directed money can become a tool for building freedom. And if you want a better financial life, you need to stop depending only on your work and start making part of your money work too. In the next mistake, we'll talk about a silent habit that destroys many financial plans without the person realizing it: spending on impulse. The third mistake is spending on impulse. The third mistake that keeps many people from growing financially is spending on impulse. This type of spending seems small in the moment. The person sees a promotion, feels the urge, buys without thinking much and says, "It was just this once." But the problem is that this "just this once" starts repeating several times during the month. An impulse purchase is usually born from emotion, not necessity. The person buys because they're excited, tired, sad, anxious, or because they saw someone else using something similar. In the moment, it seems to bring satisfaction. But later, when the bill arrives, they realize they spent money that could have gone into a reserve, an investment, or paying off a debt. Before buying anything, ask a simple question: do I really need this, or is it just a passing desire? That question can save a lot of money. Another important habit is to wait a bit before buying. If it's something you saw in the moment and felt an immediate urge for, wait 24 hours. Often, after that time, you realize you didn't even want it that much. The money you earn through effort needs to have direction. If it disappears into momentary desires, your future stays perpetually delayed. That's why the third mistake is this: stop letting emotion decide the fate of your money. Buying isn't the problem. The problem is buying without thinking, without planning, and without considering your financial goals. Whoever controls their impulses starts to control their own future. The fourth mistake is taking on too much debt. The fourth mistake that destroys many people's financial lives is taking on too much debt. Sometimes the person starts with a small installment, then they take on another, then they use the credit card, then they take out a loan to cover a bill. When they realize it, a good part of their salary is already committed before it even lands in the account. And that's the danger of debt. It takes away your freedom little by little. A poorly planned debt makes you work today to pay for past decisions. You receive your salary, but part of it no longer belongs to you. It goes to interest, installments, fees, and commitments that could have been avoided. This doesn't mean all debt is wrong. The problem is taking on debt without thinking, without comparing terms, and without being sure it fits your budget. Before accepting any debt, ask, will this installment make me freer? or more trapped? Am I using this money for something truly necessary or just to satisfy an immediate desire? Can I pay it without compromising my peace of mind? If the answer isn't clear, be careful. Excessive debt can turn into a snowball. At first it seems small, but with interest and new installments, it grows quickly and leaves the person with no way out. That's why the fourth mistake is this. Don't turn your future into installment payments. Use credit responsibly. Avoid financing impulse purchases and never take on debt just because the payment seems to fit your budget. Whoever controls their debts protects their salary, and whoever protects their salary has more strength to save, invest, and build a calmer financial life. The fifth mistake is not budgeting and not tracking expenses. The fifth mistake that traps many people in financial difficulties is living without a budget and without knowing where their money is going. When you don't track your expenses, money disappears silently. Small purchases, quick payments, card charges, meals out, promotions, and everyday expenses keep piling up. In the moment, they seem like small amounts, but by the end of the month, they can represent a large part of your salary. That's why so many people say, "I earn, but I don't see the money." The problem isn't just how much comes in. The problem is not knowing exactly how much goes out. A budget works like a map. It shows your income, your bills, your debts, your necessary expenses, and what can be reduced. Without that map, you walk in the dark and end up making impulsive decisions. It doesn't need to be complicated. Grab paper, a spreadsheet, or an app and write everything down. How much you earn, how much you pay in fixed bills, how much you spend on food, transportation, debts, leisure, and small purchases. When you see the numbers clearly, you start regaining control. Maybe you'll discover you're spending too much on things that aren't even that important. Maybe you'll realize you could set aside a part to save. Maybe you'll spot debts that need to be eliminated urgently. The fifth mistake is this: don't ignore your numbers. Whoever doesn't track their money loses control of it. But whoever budgets can plan, cut excess, pay off debts, save, and make better decisions. Because money respects whoever gives it direction. The sixth mistake is not studying personal finance. The sixth mistake that keeps many people financially trapped is not seeking knowledge about money. Many people work their whole lives, receive a salary every month, pay bills, buy things, take on debt, but never stop to study how money actually works. And when knowledge is missing, every financial decision becomes a risk. The person doesn't understand interest, doesn't understand investments, doesn't understand budgeting, doesn't understand debt, doesn't understand retirement, doesn't understand how to protect their own money. So they end up depending on other people's opinions, random advice from the internet, or easy promises that seem good but can bring losses. Financial education isn't just for rich people, business owners, or experienced investors. It's necessary for anyone who receives money and needs to make decisions with it. When you study personal finance, you start seeing your reality more clearly. You learn to organize your salary, set aside a part for the future, avoid bad debt, invest more carefully, and plan your next steps. And most importantly, you stop acting in the dark. You don't need to learn everything in one day. Start with the basics. Read a book, watch classes, follow reliable content, take notes on what you learn, and apply it little by little in your life. The sixth mistake is this: don't leave your financial life in the hands of ignorance. Whoever doesn't learn about money pays dearly for their own mistakes, but whoever studies starts making better decisions, protects their future, and increases their chances of building a more stable and free life. The seventh mistake is depending on a single source of income. The seventh mistake that puts many people at financial risk is depending on only a single source of income. When your whole life depends on a single salary, you become vulnerable. As long as the job is stable, everything seems secure. But if a layoff happens, a crisis, an illness, a reduction in income, or any unexpected change, the entire structure of your financial life can shake. It's like a table resting on a single leg. As long as that leg is standing, the table seems to work, but if it breaks, everything falls. That's why anyone who wants to build more security needs to think about new sources of income. It doesn't mean abandoning your job overnight. It means using your salary as a base and starting to create other income streams little by little. It could be an extra service, a consultancy, a small online business, investments, rental income, digital products, content creation, sales, classes, commissions, or any activity that uses your skills to generate income beyond your main job. At first, that income might be small, but a small income, when well built, can grow over time. And more important than the initial amount is the change in mindset. You stop depending on just one door and start building other possibilities. The seventh mistake is this: don't put your entire financial future in a single source of income. Whoever depends on only one income stream lives with less security, but whoever builds new sources, even small ones, starts creating more stability, freedom, and protection for the future. The eighth mistake is living beyond your means. The eighth and final mistake, perhaps one of the most dangerous, is living beyond your means. This mistake happens when a person spends more than they earn or always lives at the limit, trying to maintain a lifestyle their income can't yet sustain. And often this doesn't start big, it starts small. An installment purchase here, an impulse expense there, a credit card used without planning, a desire to show a better life than reality allows, a wish to keep up with other people's standard of living. When they realize it, the person is no longer controlling the money. The money is controlling their life. Living beyond your means is like trying to fill a bucket while there's a hole in the bottom. The money comes in, but it leaves quickly. The person works, makes an effort, receives their salary, but can't build anything because everything is already committed to a lifestyle bigger than their financial reality. And here's an important point. Living below your means doesn't mean living poorly. It doesn't mean going without, giving up everything you enjoy, or never enjoying life. It just means having the maturity to understand that your future also needs room in your budget. Many people confuse quality of life with appearance. They buy things to impress people who might not even be paying attention. They take on installments to look good. They spend money they don't have to maintain an image. And behind that image, they live with worry, debt, and fear of next month. That's not freedom. Freedom is being able to sleep more peacefully because your bills are under control. It's knowing you have a reserve growing. It's looking at your salary and realizing it doesn't completely disappear. It's being able to say no to expenses that don't make sense. It's choosing with awareness instead of buying just out of pressure, comparison, or emotion. The big problem with living beyond your means is that it steals your future. When you spend today the money you haven't even earned yet, you lock up part of your life in the coming months. Every installment taken on without planning is a piece of your future salary that's already been promised. Every debt made on impulse is a piece of your freedom that gets smaller. And the more a person does this, the harder it becomes to get out. Because the salary arrives, but it arrives already tired, already divided among bills, cards, loans, installments, and old commitments. The person looks at the money entering their account but feels like it doesn't even belong to them anymore. That's why living within your means is a decision of financial intelligence. It's looking at your income honestly and asking, does my lifestyle fit what I earn today? Am I spending to build a better life, or just to relieve a momentary desire? Am I buying out of necessity or to try to prove something to someone? Does this decision bring me closer to stability or push me toward more pressure? These questions can prevent a lot of regret. Whoever wants to prosper needs to learn to adjust their lifestyle before trying to increase their consumption level. Because if every time income increases, expenses increase along with it, the person stays in the same place. They earn more, but also spend more. They receive more, but also owe more. It seems like they've improved, but freedom remains distant. Real change begins when you learn to live with strategy. If your income increases, don't automatically turn that increase into new expenses. Use a part to save, use a part to invest, use a part to pay off debt, use a part to study, use a part to build a stronger foundation. Because the goal isn't to appear rich, the goal is to build real wealth. And real wealth doesn't just show up in what you display, it shows up in the peace of mind you feel, the security you build, the choices you gain, and the freedom you begin to achieve. During this video, we talked about 8 money mistakes that can delay your financial life. The first mistake is not saving. Without a reserve, any unforeseen event can become a crisis. The second mistake is not investing. Idle money without strategy can lose strength over time, while well-directed money can work in favor of your future. The third mistake is spending on impulse. Small emotional purchases might seem harmless, but when they add up, they weaken your plans. The fourth mistake is taking on too much debt. Excessive debt takes away your freedom and makes you work today to pay for past decisions. The fifth mistake is not budgeting and not tracking expenses. Whoever doesn't know where their money is going can hardly control their own financial life. The sixth mistake is not studying personal finance. Without knowledge, a person becomes vulnerable to bad decisions, easy promises, and costly mistakes. The seventh mistake is depending on a single source of income. When your whole life depends on just one income stream, any change can affect your stability. And the eighth mistake is living beyond your means, because spending more than you earn, or always living at the limit, prevents the building of a solid financial life. The good news is you don't need to fix everything in a single day, but you need to start. Start by saving a little. Start by looking at your expenses. Start by reducing debt. Start by studying more about money. Start by thinking about a second source of income. Start by avoiding impulse purchases. Start by living more consciously. Financial change doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you make better decisions, repeated over and over. Every choice counts. Every avoided expense counts. Every amount saved counts. Every lesson learned counts. Every step in the right direction counts. So, starting today, stop treating your money as something that simply comes in and goes out of your life. Give it a mission. Make your money protect you, build your future, and bring you closer to a life with more peace, stability, and freedom. And if you want to take a firmer step in that direction, remember to access the ebook I left pinned in the comments, while the last copies are still available. Read it carefully, use it as support, and start organizing your next financial steps with more clarity. If this video made sense to you, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who also needs to avoid these money mistakes. And write in the comments, "I will control my money, a guru." Write that sentence as a commitment to yourself, because when you learn to control money, you stop being controlled by it. And that can be the beginning of a much stronger, more conscious, and freer financial life.